This is Success Beyond the Score, giving insights and tips to help you learn how to build your music career from the best in the field by Millicent Stephenson. Millicent is a multi-award winning saxophonist and endorser of Harry Hartman's Fiber Reeds. She is currently serving on the Executive Committee of the Musicians Union. With over 40 years' experience in the creative industry, Millicent has honed her performance and business skills. She provides personal development training and coaching via her online platform, successbeyondthescore.com.
Hi, I'm Millicent Stephenson, and this is my podcast, Success Beyond the Score. Thank you so much for joining me for the second part of my interview with Dan Whitehouse. Now, Dan is an award-winning songwriter. He's a multi-instrumentalist, and he has an outstanding career spanning 20 years of touring, teaching, and composing. Today, we will explore the impact of COVID-19 on his life and career. We'll talk about some of the pros and cons of the safety measures around the pandemic and exchange tips to stay creative, active, and healthy in times of crisis. Dan will highlight some career highs and lows, and to wrap everything up, he will share some key aspects to keep in mind in order to become a professional musician. Now, due to the circumstances, this interview was recorded through Zoom, so you may perceive a slight change of audio quality between the introduction and the show, but the quality of the content remains A+. Here is Dan Whitehouse. So listen, you're a full-time musician, a very busy full-time musician, and that's really, really good. And I know that before, just around February of last year, you flew to Japan for various reasons. And then lockdown happened, and you're still in Japan right now. So how are you coping during lockdown with your music? And also, there's a distant thing. You're like, is it 10 hours ahead of us? So right now it's about a 10-hour gap, isn't it? So it's the night time for you, 9 hours. Yeah. So it's morning for me, nighttime for you. So there's two questions there. How are you doing through lockdown, and obviously the international connection as well?
Well, in terms of work and collaboration, like the wind's been blowing in my favor. We've all been heading in the same direction, haven't we? Everyone's moved online.
Yeah.
We've all been. I call it the glass age. I've written a song about it. Actually, I'll share that with you. A new one.
Okay.
These devices, they're sort of like a member of the family now, aren't they?
Oh gosh, yeah.
they've moved in. So how do I get by a daily yoga routine, a daily walk? Sometimes I have to sleep in the day to accommodate. I have felt jet lagged at times, even though I haven't traveled anywhere.
Yeah.
Just through staying up all night talking to people in Europe.
Yeah.
I have my next EP is a joint collaboration with a musician in Denmark that was done. It's been done completely remotely, and I think you can hear in the music's changed to fit this working method. Like I was sending Gustav entire songs of guitar and voice, and then he was replacing the guitar with other instruments. So that's worked well because we're not working live, so I can do it. It's kind of like a 24-hour shift because while one's working, the other one's asleep, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then I've been doing a lot of songwriting workshops online. I have about 12 people on the call. We'll do a full day, about 10 till 6, a couple of hours in the morning, demonstration, then a break for writing, then a couple of hours in the evening, late afternoon, evening, where we'll share our work.
So it's been a good thing for you then, lockdown? No?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to remove the sadness that's associated with why we're doing this.
Yeah.
And, it's hard to remove the fact that so many thousands of families have lost loved ones and are left heartbroken and torn. And, this is a very challenging time for everyone. Early on within lockdown, I heard an interview with a guy who'd lived on a submarine, and his message was it's all about routine.
Right.
And I've tried to adopt that. I've got certain rituals, like the morning pages, for example. Every morning When I wake, I write a journal of 3 pages, just straight off the bat. I'll do like a gratitude diary, just noting down things to be grateful for. You know, I do some technical guitar practice. I do some yoga. Trying my best to eat healthy and stay disciplined. But I do feel this frustration. I feel like everything is a sort of preparation or a rehearsal,
Mm.
and there's never any real payoff, like performance and a connection with people.
Mm. Yeah. And I think that's the downside to it, because I know I'm at home. I mean, I was working from home before lockdown, but as soon as it happened, I felt like I'm being incarcerated. I'm like in a prison. You know, I'm forced to stay in a box and not move. And you can travel so many miles from your home, and that's fine. You can't do this, you can't do that. And that sort of side of me where I'm almost, I'm often on a stage isn't. I think I've done about 2 live shows, pre-recorded, mainly online. A whole year. It's been crazy, and I can't wait to be able to get out and be free again. So, but like yourself, it's like having a routine and improving my playing. I mean, that's come up a whole heap. I'm trying to practice. I really have. So that's cool. And yeah, you're right. There is a downside to lockdown of, it's been terrible for many people. And certainly my extended family, has been a couple of people who've had caught COVID. Obviously they've recovered, not had any deaths. So that's been a good thing, in that respect, but not the same for other families really. So that's interesting. So I know you've got a full-time career, you're very busy. Um, you're working with the label, you've talked about community work. So what would you say then has been a career high for you? I don't know if you could think of 1 or 2, that'd be great to share those.
You know what, Millicent? I saw that question, and the first thing that came to my mind was a person called Harry, who
Okay.
in 2012, I'd only been releasing records for 2 or 3 years at this point. And one thing that's really served me well is house concerts, which
Okay.
is exactly the kind of thing you can't do in lockdown. Although I sort of have, through the streaming, remotely been broadcasting into people's lounges. But for a long time, I would travel the country playing small private gatherings. And my songs sort of resonate well in that really intimate space. And there's one family in Bromsgrove that became great friends, and they played. I've got this song called "Somebody Loves You,"
Yeah.
which is about 4 verses before the chorus comes in.
Yeah.
It's not a radio song. It's really wordy. It's about 5 minutes. And their son, who was 4 years old at the time, managed to learn the entire thing.
Is this what it's for? All that work? Is this what it's for? All those words? Is this what it's for? Just to beat me down here on the floor.
And they put this video up on YouTube of Harry singing "Somebody Loves You."
Oh,
I think that still resonates with me as a career highlight, I have to say, because for my song to make a connection with a family in that way, and the thing is that that's a family song for me. I wrote that song about my parents, and then to see that sort of mirrored and reflected back was just a really beautiful happening.
yeah, I've seen that video. I think it's really cool because like his parents driving the car and he's in his booster seat and he's singing along, and it's amazing. It's just really cute as well. A very sad song, I thought. I've listened to the lyrics and thinking, oh, that's such a deep song. And then you have this little 4-year-old singing it. It was like, wow, there's just so much in that from an artistic point of view. That's great. That's great. So listen, if you had to sort of rewind the clock and, or get into Doctor Who's TARDIS or something and go back in the past, what would be one of your career lows that you think, actually, if I could do this over again, I would do it?
And that's a tough question, isn't it? Just looking at my notes, there's nothing here.
Wow, perfect
No,
life.
everything's been perfect. Thank you, Millicent. See you next time. Let me think. So, too many things to choose from.
One's
No,
fine. Just one's fine.
um,
And maybe you could think about it as a point of choosing one and the lesson that you learned from it. Maybe if you look at it that way, what was the lesson you learned?
you know, embarking on this sort of music as a career is always going to be challenging, isn't it?
Mm,
I come full circle with it. On my last album, I had a song where there's a lyric that says, "Everything is perfect all the time." And that's kind of my mantra now, which, it's about acceptance. It's about sort of breathing and listening in to
mm,
what the universe is delivering and accepting that. I think my one, if there's one regret, it would be that as a younger person, I didn't listen in enough. I had some wonderful concerts, for example, where perhaps I didn't take the time after the show to really reflect on what had happened and who'd been present and what an occasion it had been.
mm, mm,
And I sort of was always pushing on, striving for something bigger and for the next thing.
mm,
And that sort of drive and motivation served me well in some aspects, but I think lockdown's given me a chance to pause and look back and reflect, and there's certain moments that I could have savored more intensely.
mm. I think that's the thing with youth, isn't it? We're always rushing ahead. We always think tomorrow will never come. It's always today, today, today is fine. And oh yeah, the next thing's going to be best. But as you get older, you realize sometimes it's good just to take it slower. But it's a good lesson. I think it's a good lesson for
And
all of us. When the moments are good, just really embrace them. And I think for me with lockdown, it's been really enjoying my family as being one of the things, because usually I'm rushing around. They always say to me, "Oh, well, you're always rushing, you're always behind that computer, you're always doing," you know what I mean? But just enjoying those moments that are so precious,
yeah,
it's a thing. That's a thing. So listen, you do house concerts, you're signed to a label, you're doing all the things you do, which sounds really, really glamorous. But do you ever feel like, okay, now it's back to the mundane, I've got to go do my shopping and my laundry? Do you find that to be a thing for you, or is everything just life?
everything's just mundane. It doesn't feel very glamorous. I mean, maybe when the way you describe it, it's a bit nice of it.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I've always driven, apart from the early days that I talked about with Naomi. It's very, very much a sort of DIY level. I'm driving myself to my shows.
Yeah.
You know, it's all it's a self-employed life, and no different to the mobile hairdresser or the window cleaner or anybody else that's trying to
Mm,
earn a living and visiting different clients, and
yeah. I
that's how I
see.
see it.
Yeah, I
There's
see it
no,
very much the
I'm proud
same
of
way.
that.
But don't you feel that people see you differently? Your audience see you differently, or your
Hopefully,
students?
I don't want to buy a ticket to see my window cleaner sing.
Oh, that's funny. That's
Yeah, I mean,
funny.
I think that there's a necessary veil. You know,
Mm, mm,
it's smoke and mirrors and rock and roll, isn't it? We need a bit of that, and that's exciting.
mm,
And I
mm,
try and indulge in that as much as I can.
mhm, mhm.
I get my hair cut sometimes, buy new clothes, things like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, make I try and express myself fully in the artwork and the videos that I share of that represent my music.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I think that's really important. I mean, I enjoy those things. It's exciting and fun
yeah.
to make those things as beautiful as you can.
Mm, great. So listen, what sort of 3 tips would you give anyone who's wanting to have a full-time career in music?
The number one tip would be to listen into their inner artist, develop practices that help you to engage with that voice, find out who that person is, what they sound like, and what they want to say. And that's not to be underestimated, and that's quite a long path, typically. And then it's a people business. Get good people around you, network in a slow burn, old fashioned manner of, making good relationships and friends with fellow artists and creatives for the right reasons, centered around the art that you want to make, not just for what they can do for you or what media slots they can get for you or whatever. So build a strong network in that way. Those would be the two main.
Wow.
If you're in touch with your inner artist, and then you've got a great strong network of people that support you through that. I guess the third thing would be the way that you engage with your audience, to be aware of that relationship, that you're the performer and every singer needs an audience, and that will take some work of one kind or another to develop, first of all, to develop that audience, and then how you're going to address them.
You've given 3 really interesting tips there. My cogs are whirling. Let's start with the audience. What sort of additional tips would you give anyone out there who wants to build an audience, to start building that audience? Any tips around that?
Well, I think if you're starting completely from nothing, I think the age-old principle of supporting more established acts is still a good principle. I mean, in this day and age, it might not be that you're doing that in person at live shows so much, but the same principle exists on Spotify. They call it for fans of, knowing what genre and what mood your music is, and looking at what artists sort of share that, and then finding out, how can you connect with their audiences. So whether that's through collaborating or contacting their label, trying to get them to put your stuff out, or even through, targeted online ads to their audience, or, looking at the color and the texture of the sort of artwork and videos that those artists are producing, and why is that resonating with those people, and, doing something inspired by that.
Yeah, that's really, really good. And what about sort of getting in touch with your inner artist? I really love that. What sort of tips would you give to help people to probably start that journey of getting in touch with their inner artist? Because that's all about being true to themselves, isn't it? And being genuine and complete on stage. But what would be your sort of tips around that?
There's so many distractions in modern life that it's very easy for a day to go by and for us not to meditate or contemplate or reflect on our own feelings and thoughts and interpretations of the things that we're seeing. There's very little time for reflection. It's sort of just one thing after another.
Yeah.
So building into your daily routine, first of all, just some thinking time. It could be, but it doesn't have to be formal meditation. I think songwriters need time to digest things that they've seen. And, I find that through taking a daily walk, through doing some yoga practice, through doing scales and techniques on guitar that can get me into a certain different headspace. So allowing yourself the space to be creative. It's not a treat. It's, as an artist, it's your duty, and it's part of your working life is to have these hours of writing time, reviewing time, listening time, and to know what inspires you to, whether certain books, records, films, indulge in that stuff. Let yourself be immersed in it and read it and listen to the music that you love. You can learn so much through listening to inspiring artists, and listening well. I don't think the internet and social media encourages us to listen well at all.
No, I don't think it does. I find the times when when I'm resting, I actually put my phone far away from me or in a different room just to feel like I can rest. Because if my phone is near me, I'm always thinking, is someone going to call, text? Do I need to respond? You hear a chime or something. And I have had days when I take a day, I actually switch it off. I just don't want to know. And then you
Good for
feel
you.
at peace with yourself. It's the IT, it really gets in. I don't know, it really gets in. It really gets in. So it's great on one side, but on the other side, I think it's very damaging.
It is, and let's be honest, it's just sometimes it's hard to turn off, and not least because you're trying to make a living.
Yeah, yeah.
I some months it's really tight, or it has been,
Mm,
and I'm reliant on the technology to make the connections, to make contracts happen, and do things.
yeah.
And so but that's a really vicious cycle as a self-employed person. I think that's one thing to be aware of. So it's great that you are so disciplined with it.
Yeah, I've just had to. I think I've had some health issues over the last couple of years, where it's forced me to behave myself a bit more. And
Very
yeah,
good.
yeah, I've got to stop, because I used to do my own social media. I have someone who does it for me now, but it was like a, a rat in a treadmill type thing, whatever it is you describe it. I was constantly
Yeah.
on there posting, checking who, looking at the analytics, looking at this, looking at, and it eventually just kind of burnt me out. And I'm like, this is just crazy. And when I realized that you just can't win, because you can put up a post 3 times a day, but can you do that for 7 days of the week? Can you do that for 12 months of
Mm.
the year? Absolutely difficult, because the computers are not human. These robots and things will just churn out other things, say you must do more, you must do more. So I got to a point where I think, I can't win. I've just got to do what I can do, and that's my level. Just burn out. But so you are right, it's really important to stand still, to digest, to do your journal, meditation, all of that. It's really important. And I think as full-time musicians, self-employed, you are your own boss. If you're employed for another company, you'd get holiday pay and time off. As a self-employed person, you've got to make time to have the time off. And it's
Yeah.
kind of hard when you say
Challenge.
if you've had a low month, you're there trying to, oh, got these bills to pay, I got to go in again. You get a high month, great, but you've got to
Yeah.
get that balance. And yeah, IT doesn't help. It can help, but sometimes it's a hindrance. But that's my little spiel on that, really. That's absolutely
Well said.
fantastic. Yeah, yeah, absolutely fantastic, Dan. I'm loving everything I've heard today. We're going to be wrapping up, but I love that little bit there. You're learning Japanese, and you're saying it's 3 alphabets. So, what can you say so far, Dan? Come on. In Japanese.
Watashi wa Dan desu.
And what is that?
I am Dan.
Oh, Dandes. Is that your name, Dandes? That little bit? No.
Well, they would say Dan-san, but you don't use san if when you talk about yourself.
Ah. Oh, all right. So that little crash course in a bit of Japanese then.
No, des just means I am, but there's just
Ah.
different like word order.
Oh, really?
Yeah, everything's different, Millicent.
Oh,
Nothing's
okay.
the same.
Oh,
Japan's beautiful. I mean, obviously they've adopted quite a lot of European and American culture, but everything's different.
oh.
Even things that appear the same, it's sort of different. Like they have fish sausages, for example.
Okay. Think about that one. Fish sausages. So what do
Yeah,
they
I
make
haven't
this?
actually tried those yet.
What do they make the
I
skin
just saw
out
them
of?
in the soup.
Because fish
They
is
look well. I haven't eaten them, but they look like sausages.
right. Okay.
So
You need to
I don't
try
know.
one, Dan, and let us know what it's like.
I didn't want to, but okay, I'll do it for the podcast.
Yeah, and I'll put a little note in. Dan's tried fish sausages. Oh, that's fantastic. So listen, where can people find out about you online? Which is your best website or social media platform that people can check you out?
The best one is my website, which is dan-whitehouse.com.
Cool.
And through that, they can email me direct,
Mhm.
and all the social media links are on there.
Great. And the YouTube's on there so they can see you in action,
Yeah,
see your
YouTube's
videos.
on there. Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. Dan, that's been really great. I've learned a lot. I've been inspired by what you've said. And there's some things I think I will be applying to myself as well. And it's just great that you could spend this time. And what time is it now in Japan?
It's 8:30.
8:30 in the evening. So, okay. So
Yeah.
it's about the time of this recording for me. It's 11:36. So interesting. So
Okay.
lovely that you could make the time to have a chat and to share your experience.
Thanks for having me. It's an absolute pleasure, and it's very kind of you to say what you said as well. Thank you.
Yeah, no, we've met and we've talked, and I just think you have a lot to share, and my whole thing is just to help individuals who I'm helping to meet other musicians who are doing it. And I know doing it doesn't mean that it's a Rolls Royce kind of experience. I just want people to know the real experience of being a full-time musician, singer-songwriter, you name it, the list goes on. And that there's different ways of doing the music world. You've mentioned community, and then obviously you've got the commercial. And that's great. I've never really heard anyone describe it in that way. And that's a really good thing. And also the type of people you're teaching. So, people can think, oh, actually, maybe my skills are best suited for people with certain abilities. It's just a broad world out there. So great. Thank you again. Thank you for making the time and coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Absolutely excellent. I've learned a lot just by listening to him. So you know what? Tune in next time for my next guest. And while you're waiting, go over to my website, www.successbeyondthescore.com, and download your free e-booklet called Revealed: 25 Secrets of the Successful Gigging Musician, Singer, Rapper, and Spoken Word Artist. Bye for now.